Good morning, Happy New Year and welcome to the Killik & Co market update. It's been a fairly eventful start to the year with the US killing an Iranian general. While this did very much take the general public by surprise, it's quite reassuring to note that equity markets have not really moved a great deal and they do not seem to be pricing in the possibility of further conflict. Here's a chart showing the S&P 500 since the beginning of January 2019. As you can see, 2019 was an incredibly strong year for the index, up nearly 29% over that full year. And as you can see, there really hasn't been much of a movement in this new year so far. The market, or the index rather, did drop about 1% following this assassination by the US, but on this chart it really does look like the tiniest of blips. So this really does show that the market is not overly concerned about the situation in Iran at the moment. We have seen a little bit more movement in some more specific areas of the market. For example, the oil price. So Brent crude did briefly spike following the assassination. It rose about 5% and it did briefly rise above $70 per barrel. And the reason for that is there was briefly some concern about a potential restriction of oil supply and therefore the price went up. However, over the last few days the price has actually regressed and it's actually now back below where it was before the US killed this general in Iran. So I think that really is further evidence that further conflict on a grand scale is not currently expected. Another area of the market that did experience a bit of a move is gold. So we did see a move high in the gold price, as you can see by this chart here. And unlike oil, the gold price has actually remained at elevated levels. Now, investors tend to move into gold when they feel the need for a safe haven. So the fact that the gold price remains at a relatively high level does show that some investors are feeling the need for safety right now. We've also seen a move higher in some defense stocks, for example, Northrop Grumman. Now, this is a story that is still very much playing out. In fact, last night and this morning we have had reports that the passenger jet that was shot down in Iran was actually shot down in error by an Iranian anti-aircraft missile. So still looking into that and we're still waiting for the full story there. So as I said, the story is still very much playing out, but I think it is a situation that needs to be watched very closely over the next few days. And also this week, it's become apparent that the currency firm Travelex has been the subject of a fairly large computer hack. Hackers have stolen a large amount of customer data and they're threatening to publish this unless Travelex pays them $6 million. To date, Travelex has simply closed down most of its computer network, preventing it from going about most of its daily business. And it has stopped supplying currency to some of the major banks, such as HSBC, RBS and Lloyds. So as yet, it's quite unclear exactly how this story is going to play out, but it does really make the point that cybersecurity is becoming increasingly important, and I think there will remain a considerable investment opportunity within this space for years to come. So please do give us a call if you would like to hear about our cybersecurity ideas in more detail. And finally, passive investing hit a new milestone at the end of 2019, and we now have over $10 trillion worth of investment globally held in this types of strategy, i.e. index funds or ETFs. Now, these types of vehicle are great for investing in a low-cost way, but one potential concern with them is that they do not facilitate shareholder voting. If you're holding shares individually in a direct equity, or if you're investing in an actively managed fund, then either you or the active fund manager can vote according to how you or they want the underlying company to conduct their business. And that's one thing that's really pushed a lot of companies recently to act in a more sustainable way. They're doing that because shareholders have voted for it. However, if shares are held in an ETF or a passive fund, often those votes are not taken up. That's really the definition of passive investing. And with more and more value being held in these passive investment vehicles, there is a growing concern about these wasted shareholder votes. So just something to bear in mind there, now that passive investing has reached such a grand milestone of $10 trillion worth of investing. Now, moving on to the week ahead, it's a fairly important one for the big US banks, and we have got results out from JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs. That's it from us. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Friday.